All right. Hello, Facebook friends and Instagram followers. We are live on both of you guys right now. It's been a few weeks since I have done my last live Q&A with a local expert on home buying. So thanks so much for tuning in today. I've spoken with, so far, prior homeowners insurance agent, a mortgage specialist, and today you're going to get to learn more about the home inspection process as I speak with local home inspector Kurt Stein of House Scan Inspections. So thank you so much for joining me today, Kurt.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So before we dive into the home inspection process, I want to give a little background of where this kind of fits into the home buying process. So you found the home of your dreams, we get an accepted offer, we go under contract. You now have 10 days to get your home inspections done. So it's really important to get these done the first 10 days, otherwise you don't stay within the contract. The home inspection is not required, but it is highly recommended. So Kurt, tell me why you would recommend buyers get a home inspection whenever they're buying a house.
So home inspectors in Florida are licensed professionals. So it's our job to come into a house and uncover safety and functional defects.
Okay.
Things that before I was a home inspector never even would have thought to look at. So that's the biggest thing is looking for safety and functional defects, particularly major things that might cost you a lot of money, or maybe hurt somebody down the road. So those are the main things that we're looking for. A couple other smaller reasons for a home inspection would maybe be to forecast expenses down the road, or help with, maybe you want to negotiate some more with the contract that you're under.
Okay.
So you might have some leeway after the inspection comes back on what you can negotiate.
Yeah.
The last thing would be insurance purposes. So we do a couple insurance inspections that sometimes, particularly for older homes, insurance companies want a 4-point inspection done.
Okay.
So we perform those.
Okay, we'll talk a bit more about that later. But the last thing you want to do is have your biggest financial purchase of your life, and you don't have a home inspection, and you walk in and you find out there's a million things wrong with the house that myself as your realtor and you as the buyer just couldn't see to the eye, because there's a lot of things we can't see to the eye that are in the bones of the home. So how much does a home inspection generally run?
Sure. Yeah, really good question. Usually, I get asked this a lot. You could probably find companies in town that could do a standard home inspection for maybe as little as $200. You can find companies that do it for as high as $800. Most companies are probably generally in the middle. I think a good ballpark figure for a standard sized home would be about $400 for home inspection. Condos generally run a little bit cheaper, but usually what I see and what I hear from most people is you kind of get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So
like anything in life.
You can find the bare bone minimal cost inspection. You'll probably get the bare bone minimal report. So.
Yeah, definitely. So 1,800 square foot home, you said about $400 probably. Okay, so that's not bad. It's not a bad investment to make. How long are you going to be there for? Like, what's that length of time?
Sure. So a standard 1,800 square foot house, typically for me and my company, we'll be on site for about 3 hours.
Okay.
For a condo, less, typically about 2 hours.
Okay.
But most homes take right about 3 hours. Give or take. Now it depends on the condition of the house. Yeah. If we walk into a house and we're writing something down every 30 seconds, then that inspection is going to take a little bit longer. Yeah. If it's clean and it's a newer house, it might take a little bit less time.
Yeah, I sold a foreclosure a few months ago, and that inspection probably took about 6 hours. That's because there was a lot of stuff that needed to be noted on that. And also keep in mind that you are paying for a service. So some things in the home buying process, like your binder, if you cancel a contract in a certain amount of time, you may have rights to get the binder back. With the home inspection, you're paying for a service, so that is not going to get refunded to you. So if you end up canceling a contract due to, just the way the inspection came out, or a loan issue or something else, that money is not refundable. So we're paying him for what he does. So tell me a little bit about, you go into a house, houses are huge, I know you go on the roof, I know you go in the garage, but your process and kind of what you're looking for during that time frame.
Yeah, what I normally tell people is we're trying to put our eyes and our hands on every square inch of the home.
Okay.
So one of the first things that we do when we get to a house is we get on a ladder and walk up to the roof and take a look at the entire roof. After that, we'll come back down. We'll take a walk around the exterior of the property, and this whole time we're noting deficiencies that we're finding. Then generally after that, we'll walk into the garage if there is one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go through all the mechanical systems, the air handler, the air conditioning, electrical panel, water heater. We'll then go into the house after that, go through room by room, through the interior, look at appliances, all the windows, all the doors, all the outlets, basically everything.
Very thorough.
Very thorough. And then after that, we'll get up into the attic is the last thing that we typically do. And then
you can, sometimes you can't, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. There's always some limitations with the inspection. We're a certain size, we can't sneak into certain crawl spaces or parts of the attic. So we try to look at every single square inch that we can, and provide a good summary of the condition of the property for the home buyer.
Now, tell me about like some red flag things that you may be looking for, anything you've seen recently. And by the way, if you don't follow Kurt on Instagram, you need to, because he's always posting things that he's finding in inspections. And sometimes I'm like, whoa, you found what? What's your Instagram handle?
It's HouseScanFL or HouseScanFL.
Yeah, so at HouseScanFL. So go ahead, follow him now, find it all out, because he's great to follow. I love his posts. So good job on that.
Thank you. We actually found a gas leak this morning at a house. So
oh my gosh.
we have this piece of equipment that looks for gas leaks, and it's we don't see that very often, so that was a good find for us.
Another thing, you can't see the eye. So so red flags. So what are you looking for in red flags or major things that are like, wow, this is not good?
Sure. I guess every single house is different. So literally every single house we go into, we're finding new things and different things. But generally speaking, there's a few red flags that cost more money to get a house back into a normal condition. Major foundation issues typically cost thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. I guess a modification to a wooden truss in an attic, sometimes those can cause structural issues. Those need to be repaired back into their normal condition. I guess mold, if there's water intrusion in a house, sometimes that can cause mold.
I've seen that recently.
Yep, I think we actually have worked on a property.
Yes, and it got resolved, which was great. So if we find these things, yes, it's a little scary, but if you're working with good sellers and a good listing agent, hopefully they'll be willing to resolve and fix. So.
Yep, and every single issue can get fixed. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to go down that road and get those issues fixed. Everything can be fixed.
Yeah, so and if the sellers are willing to do it, and if not, are you willing to do it? So, okay, so you got a little piece of equipment here with you.
Yeah.
Tell me about this, because I've seen you use it, and it's a pretty cool piece of technology. So explain to everyone what this is.
So folks, this is it's a thermal imaging infrared gun. That's what it is. So basically what it does is it looks for heat-related issues in a home. My company, we provide a whole house infrared scan with every single inspection that we do. So generally speaking, it looks for a couple different things. Like I said, heat-related. One big thing would be missing insulation. So if we're unable to get into an attic, then we point this up at the ceiling, and it'll tell us where there's no insulation or lacking insulation. We'll look at the electrical panel. We can see overloaded circuits with this device. We can see if there's a crack in an outside wall that's allowed water or rainwater in. We can see water intrusion in the wall cavity if there's water coming out. A lot of the times we won't see it. The first time around the house, or it's just you can't see it. So
pretty cool device.
Yeah, basically, water sticks out like a sore thumb.
Right? If you check out on a wall and
Yeah, so water shows up blue, hot things show up yellow or white. So,
okay.
as we're going around the house, I mean, things stick out, and we would never even see it if we're just walking around the house without this piece of equipment.
If you're looking to hire an inspector, ask them if they have this, because this is a really important piece, and not all inspection companies have them. So definitely make sure they have one of these guys.
Definitely. And what I'll say about that is most companies will charge a small fee. I think standard is about $50 for an infrared inspection. So
yours is included.
Yes, we include it for free.
Okay.
So.
Some other things you include are what we call the wind mitigation report and the 4-point inspection. So tell me a little bit more about what those are and why they're important and what they're needed for.
Yeah, so those two inspections, they are insurance-related inspections.
Okay.
So I mentioned it earlier that we'll do the 4-point report.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's needed by the insurance company for older homes.
Okay.
So what they want to know is they don't want to know whether or not this window can't be open or not, or this outlet isn't working. They want to know major issues with the 4 major systems of the house. So roof, electrical, plumbing, and air conditioning.
Roof, electrical, plumbing, air conditioning.
Yes.
Okay, guys, those are your 4 major systems of the house. Pop quiz later. No, just kidding.
So really, it's a quick inspection. We're just looking at major things with those 4 systems.
Okay.
So it's a condensed version of the entire home inspection report with all the extra stuff kind of excluded.
All right. And the insurance company wants to see that so they know if they want to insure the house or not, right?
Yeah. So a big thing might be a roof that only has a year or 2 years of life left. They're not going to insure the property unless it gets a new roof, or they'll increase your premiums or a combination of the both.
Yeah, and I had that happen recently too. Mm-hmm. So the home inspection found out the roof wasn't insurable and need to get a new roof to buy the house. So definitely a good thing. So wind mitigation, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Wind mitigation, tell me about that report.
Yeah, so the wind mitigation report, again, it needs to be done by a licensed home inspector. So what we do is we come into the house and we document there's 7 items that we look at, and it's basically related to the house's construction. Okay. And it's features of the house that would mitigate damage during a hurricane or a major windstorm.
Okay.
So a couple of things that we're looking at, a lot of people have heard about hurricane clips.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what ties the roof down to the structure. We're looking at the spacing between nails that's holding the roof decking on. We look at the shape of the roof, how old the roof is, a number of different items that basically will produce a report, and we'll send that to the home buyer, who then sends it to their insurance company. And all this report is for is to save home buyers money on their insurance.
We want to save money.
Right. So it's a lot of my customers will save a couple $100s a year with this report, just on the wind portion of their home insurance. Okay. Sometimes you might not save any money. Yeah. Sometimes you might save quite a bit more than that. So
it's even worth getting it done. Like my husband and I just got a new roof, like I mentioned in my last video. So we're going to get a wind mitt done on our house. So we can submit to our insurance and hopefully save some money. So just kind of a note on the wind mitt as well. Mm-hmm. So another type of inspection that's done in the inspection process, or we highly recommend, is the WDO, which is called just wood destroying organism report. And this is a completely separate inspection. It's almost always an extra cost or a separate cost, and a lot of times a different inspector that has a different certification that has to come out, because we're looking specifically for wood rot, termite damage. So I'm gonna bring in someone else in a few weeks to do a little bit more digging on that. But definitely an important inspection to have along with everything else we just talked about. Yes. And the 4-point and the wind mitt you include in your price as well, right?
Yes.
So it's not an add-on.
Right.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah, when you're going around and getting prices, there's certainly a lot of things that can fluctuate with or the price of the inspection. So I don't think I touched on this earlier, but square footage of the home, the bigger the home, generally, the more you're going to pay. Yeah. The older the home, generally, there's sometimes some fees for inspecting an older home. Okay. A crawl space, you might have to pay an additional fee for the inspector to get under the house and crawl around.
Because you're getting down and dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. What else? And then, yeah, the additional reports that we talked about. Typically, most companies will charge an additional fee for those.
Yeah.
And then the WDO inspection as well is another fee.
I would highly recommend the WDO. Sometimes on condos, you don't need them because in condos, the condo association is taking care of all of the outside with the wood rot and termites. So condos, maybe not so much, but in homes in general, you definitely want to get that inspection done, even though it's a little extra money.
Yeah. Well, let me touch on that just real quick. It's home inspectors. We're looking for a certain thing, and we generally speaking know what termite activity looks like, but the WDO inspectors coming in with an entirely separate kind of eye for what they're looking at.
Yeah. And
the indications of termite activity it's almost impossible to see unless you know exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So we'll go into houses all the time, and the homeowner might be completely unaware that there's termite activity in the house. And it's, when we start talking to the homeowner, then it's news to them. So it's a really good idea to get that termite inspection.
And that just happened on another one of my houses recently as well. So definitely good to get that done. So documenting all this data, it's a lot you're documenting, and then how do you get this to the buyer? So how do they end up seeing this at the end result?
Yep. So as we're walking around the house, my company, we carry a tablet with us. So it's all electronic. Back in the day, a lot of folks used paper and pen, and they would type up a report at night and send it out. Nowadays, with modern software and technology, we're able to just come into the house. As we're going around the house, we're selecting issues that we're finding, taking pictures, and additional comments if needed. But generally speaking, we almost 99% of the time get the report back to our customer on the same day of the inspection.
That's amazing.
So I know, a house that I bought a couple years ago, it took several days to get the inspection report back, and the software's really come a long way just in the last few years.
Yeah, and allowing you to do it quickly but efficiently.
Exactly.
So, and then it's emailed, over to the buyer as well as the buyer's agent pretty quickly afterwards. But I always like to prepare my buyers because they can be very lengthy, depending on the condition of the house. A lot of it is going to end up being little things. Something like a door doesn't latch exactly, or a window doesn't stay up the whole way. Things that can be easily fixed once you move in. What I like us to focus on is some of the bigger things, like if there is wood rot, if there's termite damage, if the AC unit is not functioning. So things that are the major ticket items is the things that we need to be looking at. So once we get this once we get the inspection report back, we'll go through it together. Try not to freak out. Look at the major items. Kurt does a great job of highlighting those major items on the first page. Then we can put together what's called a repair request. We have 7 days, or we have to get that in our first 10 days. Once we get that in, the sellers have 7 days to decide what they're going to do with that. So the sellers can come back and say, they're going to fix A, B, but not C, or they're going to fix everything. They can say, we don't want to fix anything because we don't want to deal with this. We live out of town now, but we're going to take a certain amount of money off the purchase of the home just to kind of take care of it. Or they can say, we're not going to do anything at all. And I've seen that happen as well. And when that happens, you as the buyer have to decide, do we want to move in with this, what's going on, and take the risk? Do we just want to walk away at this point? How much do we want this house? And that's, again, a discussion you have with your realtor and a discussion you have to have with yourself about how much you want the home. The other thing to remember is if you're buying a foreclosure, a short sale, or a home that is saying sold as is, which some homes are sold as is, even if they're not a foreclosure, you strictly are buying it as is. So you have the right to inspections, and we still suggest you get them, but the seller is not going to make any repairs. So you might be getting a great deal on the house as a foreclosure, but there could be a lot of repairs that have to be done. So just really keep that in mind if you're looking at homes that fit that category. So I think that's all for today. We're going to check out our live feed later, and if there's any questions, please feel free to type them in tonight or anytime, and Kurt and I will be checking this feed, and we'll answer any questions that you have. And again, follow Kurt on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle again?
It's at HouseScanFL.
at Housecan FL. My Instagram is Follow the Heels 1, or on Facebook you can find me at Follow the Heels. You haven't saved the date yet. April 19th is my next sip and shop at Ashley Greer in Atlantic Beach, so make sure you save the date for that. And thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Again, I'm Amanda Creech with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Closing Deals and Heels. And I'm here with Kurt, my home inspector from Housecan Inspections. Have a great night.
All right, thank you, everybody. See ya.
Bye.